What is going on, everybody? You are back on another edition of Ballin' Over Beers, a fantasy and betting show. This is the Week 9 DFS show. I am Justin Dubengeiser, and I am joined, as always, by my guys, James Fitch and AK Howe. James, what's up, dude?
Not too much, man. Ready to enter another week of DFS mayhem.
Mayhem is a good way to put it. AK, what's up, bro?
Nothing. Just ready for, like James said, another week. Sweating some NBA stuff right now, so just living the daily life.
Good times, good times. Crazy week in the NFL. Tons of news, injuries. Aaron Rodgers on COVID. Derrick Henry out for the year. Some big implications there. So we are going to jump right into it, as we always do, with quarterbacks. Josh Allen, the most expensive on the slate, 8,200, coming off of a week where he was pretty popular and he didn't get there until awful late with a rushing touchdown. And then, it goes all the way down to guys like Trevor Lawrence, who I was on last week, who killed me. He had 54 pass attempts and only 13 fantasy points, and that was just abusive to my heart, and it hurt a lot. But that is DFS. He's $5,400. James, who do you like at quarterback this week?
Yeah, it's tough to ignore the really good matchup against Jacksonville for Josh Allen. Obviously, the most expensive quarterback on the slate, so he may be a guy that I look to get in. I do like Lamar Jackson a lot, though, at 7,300. I think similar style play to Josh Allen, and you're saving almost $1,000 there with a $7,300 price tag. So those are the two guys I'm looking at. If I had to pick another one, Mahomes maybe, because I just don't feel like people want to play him right now, just the way things have been going with the Chiefs offense, and still kind of a high price tag. So he may have some good ownership.
Yeah, I like those calls, and that's kind of where I am too. I want to see what this Mahomes ownership comes in on. It really does make me wonder, how, because we've seen it all the time, right? The DFS community is just getting sharper and sharper. Like somebody will flop and they'll just go right back to him because they know, that's kind of what works. Well, Mahomes hasn't kind of been Mahomes for the last couple of weeks here. So are people going to actually, get off of him? Because the national media is actually kind of piled on a little bit too, saying how the defenses have figured them out and they can't do anything and this and that and that. And then, it's really, if you look at the beginning of the season, Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL the first few weeks, and he's just had a couple bad weeks. So I'm hoping that it's getting to the point where everyone's like, "Oh, I'm not going to play him, so I can play him, so I can play him at low ownership, and I can pair him up with Hill, and just expect him to get back to where he is." And I guess the big question lies is can you play Jordan Love? He's only $4,400, and it is super tempting against Kansas City, who has been atrocious on defense this year. So I'm going to actually look pretty hard into it. The thing I worry is that Green Bay will come out and they will just try to run the ball every single play with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. So I think Jones might be a better play than Jordan Love, but he's definitely got me interest. And I'm all over Lamar Jackson with you. James, we talked about it on the betting show, how this could be Zimmer's way out, you had mentioned, and this could be a blowout for the Ravens. So I'm right there with you with Lamar. AK, what about you?
So I'm with Josh Allen, like the two of you. I'm not going to really get into it. It's pretty self-explanatory with him. I do like Jordan Love. I'm going to pay attention to his ownership, though, being so cheap. Yeah. He could have a real high ownership, which could scare me away. But the other quarterback I'm actually looking at this week is Dak Prescott at 6,900. Obviously, if he's healthy and playing, I'm going to look to him. I think Cooper and Lamb are just studs, and Denver's not as good as their, defensive ranking really is.
Yeah, Dak's an interesting one to see. I mean, you wonder if coming off of a game where he doesn't play, if people are going to forget that he's still there. So that'll be interesting to see where he comes in at. If we jump over to running, what are you going to say?
I was gonna say real quick, I feel like the Cowboys haven't been on the main slate in forever. Like I just feel like
Yeah.
they're a team that always got those primetime games,
That's
and we
true.
haven't seen them on the slate in a long time.
That is true, actually. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Let's jump over to running back. Running back, Elvin Kamara, $8,200. Jameis Winston tears his ACL down for the year in that situation. Be interesting to see if that's Trevor Simeon. Taysom Hill is still banged up, so don't know if it's going to be him. Christian McCaffrey is $8,000. He's still not completely cleared. We don't know if he's going to be playing or what his deal is, but those are the two most expensive. AK, who are you looking at running back? Because it has been a situation this year where we haven't really had a ton of value. Last week Boston Scott comes in and I was on him, and he immediately got a price bump back up to $5,200 going against the Chargers defense, who is very susceptible to the run. So where are you looking at running back?
The first place I'm starting is Aaron Jones going against Kansas City. Kansas City has a pretty terrible defense, as everyone knows, and you just kind of mentioned it. We were talking about Jordan Love. You're worried about them just giving the ball a bunch to Aaron Jones, just letting him chew up the clock. So at 7,200, I think he has pretty good value there. And someone else I'm looking at is at 6,200, Josh Jacobs. I'm still a little worried about the Kenyon Drake's whole situation, but they just lost another receiver. They're down to 3 wide receivers. Waller's banged up, and the Giants, although they shut down the Chiefs offense somehow, are not that good. So I do like Josh Jacobs, possibly even Kenyon Drake at 5,100 this week.
Yeah, I think I'm all over Aaron Jones with you. It'll be interesting to see how many people jump on him too, with that same mindset of, with Rodgers out, that's where they're going to lean. James, what about you? Where are you looking at running back?
Yeah, the running back position's kind of gross this week. There's not a lot of
I agree.
great plays. I don't really like any of the top guys. Dalvin Cook just hasn't done anything, I feel like, recently. I do like Aaron Jones, but I feel like everyone's going to be on him. Zeke at 7,000 is a pretty good value play. I think that's cheap for him. I do like Damian Harris at 6,000. He had 23 carries last week for 80 and a touchdown. He doesn't catch passes, which he's probably a better FanDuel play, but I think 6,000 for a reliable starting running back is pretty good. Elijah Mitchell at 58, his price only increased 400, but he's dealing with a rib injury, so that bears monitoring. And again, he's a guy that doesn't catch a lot of passes, but he has been a machine when he's 100%. So I like that. And then a really good value play. You guys talk about Aaron Jones, but AJ Dillon's only 4,600. Everyone's going to want to cram Jones in, but I think we saw him get a lot of work, and with uncertainty at quarterback with Jordan Love, I think you're going to see Green Bay run the ball a lot. And with that, I think Dillon's going to get his share of the work. So 4,600, Dillon's probably going to be a popular guy too, along with Jones, just based on the price and how much work he got in a primetime game last week. But I think he's a good salary relief guy if you need to get somebody in cheap. And he catches passes.
Yes, no, for sure. I think that's a good call with Dillon. They use him. They were using him quite a bit even before this Rodgers news in games. And then Kansas City, who hasn't stopped the run, I think that he could end up getting quite a few carries. A couple guys that I'm looking at that are kind of down the price for the first one is in this Kansas City Green Bay game. It's Darrell Williams. I think a lot of people watched Derek Gore for Kansas City get the touchdown on that drive, but Darrell Williams is still that back as long as CEH is not in the game. In his last 4 games, he has 5, 4, 4, and 6 targets. You could see Mahomes last game. He was very patient. He was checking down quite a bit more with all the split safety looks that the Chiefs were seeing. Williams still had 13 carries and he had 6 targets. So this is a game that I think that the Chiefs might try to get a little bit more running going. Just because the way teams have been playing them. So at $5,700 for a guy that's going to see potentially 20 touches and get some goal line work, I think that that's a pretty good value right there.
Do you know why the Chiefs are so apt to throw the ball to him, but not Clyde. It makes no sense to me.
It is honestly one of the most perplexing things. Not only do they throw him the ball, they also run the ball in advantageous situations with him, where they stop running so much wide zone, which is all that they were doing with Clyde, which is stupid because that's not what Edwards-Helaire is great at. Edwards-Helaire is great as like inside zone gap scheme stuff, counter, power, duo, stuff like that. And instead they're running a wide zone for a guy who's he's a 4'6", 40 guy. He's not like a speed guy trying to get to the outside. And it's like Darrell Williams comes in, they're like, yeah, we're just going to go back to our power scheme stuff with our huge offensive line and maul people, and we're going to throw them check downs and stuff. It's like, why would you not do this with a guy that you drafted in the first round? Like, why would you not put him in situations to be successful too? It's really bizarre. The team is very, very out of whack right now in general, though. So it's not shocking. The other person I was looking at was Elijah Mitchell. So Arizona's run defense isn't great. He's gotten 18 carries the last 2 games. In 4 of the last 5 games, he's had 17 or more carries. The thing that is a little bit hesitant that you don't like to see is the fact that he doesn't get any work in the pass game. Basically, he is strictly there to run the football. So it has to be a situation where you got to hope that the Cardinals don't come out and just jump all over them, and the 49ers can come out and actually run the ball and keep a little bit of clock control and keep giving him the ball. So, but I think that's 2 interesting prices in the upper 5s that give you a little bit of salary relief if you need it. Let's move to wide receivers. James, will let you start. The most expensive guy on the board, Davante Adams, $8,200. He's still on the COVID-19 list. We got to see what his situation is. And then in that same game, Tyreek Hill is $7,900. Tyreek Hill is a guy. They haven't had the deep plays to him, but man, is he getting a ton of targets right now. 12, 13, 12, 9, and 18 targets his last 5 games.
Yeah, it's hard to not want to get him into your lineup with the target share that he's getting. It's been massive. It's been crazy. Obviously the deep balls are lacking, like you said. It's the same time I feel like they're just bound to connect on one of those. Green Bay secondaries always just beat up. They're not good. So I'd like to think that the Chiefs could take advantage of that. So he's a strong play. I do like Diggs against Jacksonville. I think the thing that's been hurting Diggs this year is Emmanuel Sanders actually being healthy, unlike John Brown was able to do last year. I think that's why we saw Diggs, dominate the way he did. But he's still getting the targets. He's still getting the look. So I like him up at the top as well. It's probably going to be a decision on which quarterback I'm going to play, depending on which of those 2 wide receivers I get in. And then, just scroll down. This is another one of those, like, there's just a lot of value, I think, in that $5,000 to $6,000 range. It's really just kind of picking. I feel like Amari Cooper's priced too low at $5,700. So I like that as a play. T. Higgins, just his price never changes, and I always want to cram him into just because he can provide some of that salary relief. He seems to be a decent PPR play. So at $5,300, I like him too.
I like it a lot. EK, we don't have to make the decision whether or not to play Cooper Kupp this week, thank God, because I didn't play him last week, and he's just a freaking monster stud fantasy player this year. But who are you looking at as far as receivers go this week?
I like Tyreek, and James mentioned him, Amari Cooper. Cooper's $5,700. CeeDee Lamb is $7,200. Lamb does get a little bit more targets, but I don't know if that justifies the 1,500 point difference or dollar difference there. So I like the value with Cooper, and I like Cole Beasley again. He's just someone that's been getting the targets on the games that he gets the targets. He's getting you 10 catches, and he's just a reception monster. And with full point PPR, it is pretty nice to have. And the last guy I like, who's kind of cheap, we were on him both weeks he played for the bye week, is Rashad Bateman at $4,000. I just think he's a good receiver. He's going to be probably their number 1 receiver. Hollywood Brown's their deep threat, but Bateman is going to be their reception getter, and he's going to get in the end zone one of these weeks, probably before Jacoby Myers ever does.
Or Jacoby Myers, still looking for the end zone. I like those calls. I like the call on Bateman. I know me and James talked about liking Lamar a lot. I don't mind stacking him up with Bateman or Brown or Mark Andrews. Any of those guys, I think it's pretty
Pretty crazy to do all of them.
good. Could get
Put 'em in
wild.
there.
You could get wild. I'm gonna drop down and give you a first value guy, and that's Hunter Renfro at 40.
It's just looking at him. That was a name I missed, and I'm like, he's going to be a strong play this week with the Ruggs news.
Yep, super strong play. He's had 8 targets in 3 of his last 4 games. He's just a guy that always tends to just get it done. So I like Renfro quite a bit. I think he could end up getting steamed up pretty good throughout the week. So we got to watch what he does as far as ownership is concerned. Another guy I like quite a bit is Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen against this Eagles secondary. Eagles pass rush is pretty solid, but their secondary is not great. Coming off an 11 target game, got in the end zone against New England. I think that he's a pretty good option at only $6,700. Gives you a little bit of a salary relief at only $6,700 compared to Mike Williams, who is $7,100. So just a tad cheaper. He's getting a little bit more of the targets as of reach, but I don't mind double stacking them either. If you want to go Mike Williams and Keenan Allen in that game, I think that's actually a pretty interesting option. Is that Charger stack with the Eagles? Let's jump over to tight end. Travis Kelce, most expensive on the board at $7,000. Not, for as great as Kelce is, he's had his struggles last game. 7 targets, but only had 4 catches. Had the fumble that he lost. He's only found the end zone once out of his last 5 games, so that's not great. But the targets still seem to be there: 6, 10, 11, 12, and 7. So he's a guy you can always go to. He seems like a guy that he's always right there. So I don't mind kind of jamming him in, I guess, if you have to, if you want to get part of that Packers Chiefs game. The other guy I'll talk about is Tommy Sweeney for the Bills, $3,100, 4 targets last game, in for Dawson Knox, who is hurt right now. I think that, against Jacksonville, you just got to hope he finds the end zone. The Bills tend to blow these kind of teams out, the bad teams, and Jacksonville is a bad football team. So it's just a pass catcher that you can either stack with Allen or use as one-off, I think, is a way to get a little salary relief down here. So I'll say Kelce and Sweeney are two of my favorite plays. James, what about you?
I like Mark Andrews at 55. That's probably the most expensive I'll play. Kittle's interesting at 52. I believe he's going to play this week. Not sure just how much or how effective he'll be, but whenever you can get Kittle at 5,200, I think you at least got to take a look at that. And then I probably, if I'm not going to pay up for either of those two, I do like Gesicki at 49. He's basically a wide receiver, and I think he's got a really great matchup against Houston. But if I'm looking to really save, I'm going to go back to Dan Arnold at 3,400. The guy just gets targets, catches passes. He's going to get you 5 for 60, 4 for 40, something like that. He's not going to, and you really hope for a touchdown with him, but I think he pretty much always pays off his salary.
I like it. Good call. AK, what about you?
I kind of like Darren Waller this week at 6,200 if you want to get one of the topper guys. They only have 3 receivers. Someone's got to get the ball. He's their best offensive player. So, you could see him get a 15 target game like he had week 1. If you're paying down for people, I don't mind Evan Ingram. He's athletic. He's one of the healthier players on the Giants. So at 3,800, he's a all right play there as well.
Yeah, Ingram's interesting. He didn't play too much against Kansas City, but he did find the one touchdown. Obviously, if you get lined up against Daniel Sorensen, you're going to find the end zone because Daniel Sorensen is a very, very poor defender for Kansas City Chiefs. The one guy that we didn't mention that I'll throw out that I think is an interesting option is Ty Conklin for the Vikings. He's coming off a 7-target game, but he's a guy that 8-6, 3-5, 7 targets in those last 5 games. So getting the targets, yards, decent amount of yards, 70 yards in 2 of his last 5, was at 57 yards last game, 1 touchdown in the last 5 games. So Conklin's a pretty good price there at 3,000. Let's talk defenses though. Most expensive defense, Patriots defense, $4,100 against the Panthers. Bills 4,000 against the Jags. Pretty interesting to see 2 defenses up that high. James, where are you looking defensively?
Oh man, I don't really love any of these. I don't know. Do you think people want to play the Chiefs against Jordan Love at 2,300? Is that going to be like the chalky cheap play?
I think the chalky cheap plays Miami at 31 versus Houston, but I was looking at the Chiefs and just hopefully they get a pick 6 or something.
Is 31 a cheap play though for defense?
I think it is.
I don't think that people are going to play the Chiefs, honestly, because the whole talk in the national media is how bad the defense is. You know what I mean? Even though
It could be a good play.
Right. And you know what the other thing is in that game, like the way that I have this game playing out in my mind is that the Packers try to control the clock. They try to run the football a lot. Running the football does not lead to fantasy points on defense, right? So I don't think I would get there with Kansas City. I mean, they're $2,300, which is great, but I would honestly, if I'm there, I would go to the Browns at $2,500. They're a very good pass rushing team. Maybe they can luck their way into some sacks and some turnovers and stuff against the Bengals in a game that could potentially be a shootout with a high passing volume. So a lot of passes usually equal fantasy points. So I don't mind that at all. It's just this is kind of an ugly week for defenses, to be honest.
Yeah, there's just not a lot that really stands out to me. I think that Dolphins call I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you have any interest in the Packers since Kansas City likes turning the ball over 14 times a game?
Honestly, that's not a bad call. I mean, they turn the ball over so much, it's insane. So I don't know. You would think that turnover, like positive regression, is coming. Like eventually they have to stop being so unlucky, but they haven't this year. So who knows? All right, let's just talk about real quick. Just give who your favorite stack of the week is, and then we'll get out of here. Why don't go ahead, AK?
My favorite stack is gonna be Dak to Cooper this week.
Any bring back on that? Who are they playing again? Denver.
Denver.
I think that's an interesting matchup though, because you got Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy over there. Alex Fant's not terrible.
Yeah,
It kind of always gets it done. I don't mind any of those bringbacks really.
Is Noah Fant going to be back from COVID?
I don't know. Alex O is the other tight end there. He had just come back from injury last week, so
Yeah.
I don't know if Fant will be back or not.
The bring back options are all right. I actually might not even do a bring back really though. I just like the Cooper and Dak, and I think that they're going to score a bunch of points this week, and Dak's awesome. So
You should probably look at elite wide receiver Melvin Gordon.
I was just gonna say that. It's freaking Gordon, dude. I was for all my Javonte Williams shirt, I was praying that he was gonna get traded at the freaking deadline.
All he does is catch touchdown passes lately.
At 5,200.
Freaking moon. Get him out of there. He is killing my Javonte Williams shirts. Killing me. All right, James. Who's your favorite stack?
At first look, it's probably the Bills. Allen, Diggs, maybe a cheap Beasley or Gabriel Davis was a call I had last week, and I like him again this week. He's just a red zone threat, and without Dawson Knox, I could see him getting some more work. Not sure I'd really bring it back in that matchup either. I just don't see Jacksonville really pushing Buffalo, so probably not a spot where I'd look to do that.
I like it. And it seems to be something this year that even I'm doing, like you guys are mentioning, not doing the bring back. I'm doing that like less and less. If I don't think of it like that it's a good play, the bring back, I'm not like jamming it in there. A lot of times I'll try to do like a mini correlation instead. Like, so if I don't bring it back, I'll try to do like, all right, then I like this running back and this wide receiver from the other game, and I'll do that mini correlation in there and maybe do an extra correlation, even a double with a bring back and a different one without the quarterback. So I think that's a good call, just not to jam the bring back in if you don't like it. But my favorite stack of the week, I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I'm gonna go Lamar. I'll probably go Lamar, Rashad Bateman, and Mark Andrews. or a combination of Marquise Brown and Bateman, and Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, something like that. I think that they roll the Vikings. I think you can bring it back with Thielen or Justin Jefferson. We'll have to see how he's healthy, right? I know he got banged up a little bit, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard specifically. Doesn't have an injury designation right now,
no,
so
I haven't seen anything. I know he went out of the game because he landed funny on his back on one of the plays, but you can bring it back with that. Again, I don't know if I'll jam that in, but I like the Lamar call. Obviously, you got the rushing, but they've been throwing the ball a ton. I think this Vikings team is dust. So give me that stack and a blowout.
I like it.
Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I'm just waiting for DraftKings to announce the new crown policy.
Taking our stinking crowns. They can take our crowns, but they'll never take our freedom.
Did you get all of yours for November?
No.
Hmm.
I did not.
Too busy giving out freaking air fryers.
Yeah, I was in the platinum league or whatever, the platinum thing, and I was supposed to get $30, $1 a day, and I got $1, so that was cool.
So that happened to me. I got in the morning, I got like the first day,
Yeah.
and later at night I got an email. I don't know if they're just rolling it out in tiers, but I did end up getting them all at once.
Well, hopefully I get $29 more deposited to my balance. That'd be cool.
Sweet. Nice free money. All right, fellas. Let's win some money this week. What do you say?
Why not us?
Why not us? Why not us? For James, you can find him on Twitter at Fitchy24. You can find AK on Twitter at Kenny Truelove. You can find me on Twitter at JDiz1617, or you can find the Ballin' Over Beers handle on Twitter at Ballin' Over. Head over to Border Fuel Sports if you want to find our podcast, if you want to find our merch, if you want to get articles, everything's over at Border Fuel. Make sure you're liking this episode. Make sure you're subscribing so you know exactly when our episodes are coming out. We appreciate everybody being here. Good luck this week. Let's win some money. Talk to you later.